Hi, everybody. This is Chica.
And I'm Miss B.
And
this is
Untamed Thoughts.
Hey, everyone. So glad to see you all here again on today. It's kind of a rainy day out there, right? Oh, it's a little dreary. It's a little...
That's why this topic this week is going to be perfect for this kind of weather.
Oh, my goodness. Let me say, this is going to be some adult conversation.
Friend, I feel like it's been forever since we've been here.
It has kind of been forever.
It feels
It's
like
been
right?
a couple of weeks.
I know.
I'm telling you, I don't know. But whatever you guys out there are drinking or eating, get it and be prepared to join this conversation.
Yes.
Chica, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. You ready?
Oh, well, I'm ready. I'm ready. I don't even know. How do we even begin?
I don't know. I'm sounding confident, but I don't know.
I'm thinking
like, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we got to kind of just jump into it because it is a very interesting topic. So you know how you're in a relationship, right? And things begin to get a little bit uncomfortable. You know, there's a little bit of this happening. There's a little bit of that happening.
I love your nice way of saying uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. You know, that man is just doing the most. He's just doing the most. And you're in this relationship, and that same man, though, is everything in the bedroom.
Girl.
I mean, everything in the bedroom.
When they do the most, they usually do the most there too. So.
Yeah, they do the most there too. You are absolutely right. So you have this man who's doing the most, but he's everything in the bedroom, right?
Yes.
So your sense of reason is a little clouded.
It happens.
By the stroke and soak?
That'll do it. That'll do it.
The stroke and soak will do it every time, right?
Every time.
So let's talk about it.
Yes.
Is good sex enough to stay in an uncomfortable relationship, a broken relationship, a relationship that undergoes trust issues, infidelities?
Not long term.
Not long term?
Not long term.
Not long term. The short term.
Short term, yeah, but eventually, everything gets old. I mean, no matter how good it is, if you're not doing what you need to do in every other area, that can only last but so long when you get tired.
Are you sure? Because you don't sound too sure. You don't sound too sure. It sounds to me a little bit like maybe you would be on board for a little longer term.
It depends on the stage of life you're in.
Okay.
Younger Chica would have hung in there,
Okay.
If, he's doing his thing and would have hung in there a lot longer. But Chica of today, you got to have something else. Besides, that's only to get you so far.
So what does it because, sometimes I'm a little behind the times a little
Girl,
bit.
please.
I kind of want you to define what doing your thing might mean. Like, what is good sex?
I mean, good sex, everybody's different because people like different things. So
I agree.
Some people like some kinky stuff. Some people just like it basic. And as long as the stroke is what it needs to be, some people it's, they want all the extra stuff.
Okay.
Well, the extras, the bells and whistles.
The bells and whistles.
Bells and whistles.
I gotta have bells and whistles. I gotta have bells and whistles. I gotta see stars. I gotta do a whole lot of to be able to categorize someone as being good.
Absolutely.
That's what has to happen. But if they're doing the most, though, I gotta be honest with you, Chica. If they're doing the most, good sex is just not enough to make me stick around.
No.
It just wouldn't be enough. Not even for short term. Not even for short term. Because at the end of the day, good sex is great and good sex is wonderful. And I know some of you women are out there saying, girl, you crazy. Because I've heard it. I've heard it all week, last week, and I was talking to people about it. And they're like, girl, are you crazy? You would just walk away? Even if the sex is good? Yes, even if the sex is good. But if he's doing the most and I am not getting what I need out of the relationship as a whole, then I cannot stick around. Because there are a lot of other options out there that would be able to give good sex.
See, that's where if you're okay.
Yes, be clear. Be very clear, Chica.
I think where the lines get blurred is when you love that person. Because if you could love them, but if, the feelings are like, it's not as easy to walk away. The good sex and you're just like stuck up under that person. But I think it all has to do with stages. I think it all has to do with stages in life, because if you're younger, you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not thinking about, not everybody. I'm not saying, a lot of people are just thinking about the moments and this man, I love this man, and he's doing his thing. I'm not going to find this anywhere else.
Okay.
Where else am I gonna get? He does this, he does that. He's making my toes curl and the eyes roll back in my head. Who else is gonna do that?
Who else is gonna do that?
But
and is that what you really think, though? Do you really think that there's no one else that can do that for you?
When you have that sexual compatibility, that's how it feels.
Okay.
Like, this person knows my body. Like, who, because that takes time. Sometimes it's instant. You're in a relationship or whatever the case is, and you start having a sexual, you get intimate, and sometimes it's fireworks immediately.
Okay.
But a lot of times that's not the case.
Immediate fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
With the stroke and soak.
I can't with you with the stroke and soak.
Okay. All right. Immediate fireworks.
Yes,
Listen,
yes.
I get it. I get it. It's funny because when I ask the question to men, I get a very different answer than I did with women. With women, they all tell me, girl, you already know it's so hard to find a man that can satisfy me. And I'm saying, is it really that hard, though? I mean, because at the end of the day, if that's what you're doing, if you're out there and you are looking for someone to be with, and sex is a major component to your relationship, and I call it leading with sex, because I my thoughts on that. Yeah. I feel like, young ladies out there and older ladies, we get into trouble when we lead with sex. I think that
you always say that.
Yeah, I think we just have to figure out.
And you're right.
Yeah, we have to try to figure out how to gain a good relationship, okay, without always leading with sex. Because when you lead with sex, complications arise. The men always say the crazy came out as soon as I gave her some.
Oh, yeah, I know.
The crazy
because they didn't
out.
do nothing. Crazy it just came out because the Levin's that amazing that she just switch flips. Not because of anything you did. Not because anything.
So you're saying that they're exaggerating the situation?
9 times out of 10, not always, because some of us be bugging, but a lot of times, yes.
But what I find when they say that, though, Chica, is that once they say the crazy has come out, that means that they're doing the most.
Exactly.
Right? And you're reacting, but you're also staying.
Yes.
Because I have heard countless men say, it couldn't have been that bad because she stayed. There's something to be said about that, and we as women, we don't like to really hear this, ladies. We don't like to hear that part of the responsibility for being treated right, for being treated the way that you deserve to be treated, falls on us. Because if a man can say, I know I did wrong, I know what I did, I know it was wrong, but she stayed because, I was laying it down. This is the conversation that they have, believe it or not.
It is.
This is the conversation that they have. And I've heard it from several young men that I've talked to and older men that I've talked to. It's the same story. If she's not happy, then she'll leave. How true is that?
I mean, we set the standard for what we allow, what, how we expect to be treated. And you can't get mad at, now that I'm older, I realize you can't be mad at somebody for, treating you a certain way when you didn't set the tone.
Right.
And you stayed.
Right. You stayed.
Yeah.
You stayed. But the sex was good.
Girl.
Yeah.
That sex is good. At least you're getting something out of this messy situation. Yeah. When he's a hot mess.
So that really is the reason why some people stay in an otherwise unhealthy situation.
I think it's sex, but not. It's an emotional connection. And I believe that when you have sex, it's an emotional thing, especially when you love that person, no matter how wrong they are or what they do. Sometimes it could be that that's the only way you can get to connect with them one-on-one. You get their total attention.
Okay.
For that, whether you're a 10-minute guy or a 2-hour guy, That's a whole other topic.
Whether
girl.
you're a 10-minute guy or a 2-hour guy.
Whether he's a 10-minute guy or a 2-minute guy, you have his total attention.
Well,
I think that's a big part.
I agree with you. I agree with you because as women, we need to be loved.
Yes.
We need to feel connection. However, again, when he is doing the absolute most, I can't stay. Because if that's the only connection that we have, that's not serving me.
Absolutely.
That's not serving me. I can't say with a surety that if a man is just good in bed, he got me. That's it.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
At no stage in Miss B's life has she ever thought differently and might have, whereas today's Miss B, 2025 Miss B is like, I'm out. You're acting up, I'm out. Was there any stage younger Miss B that might have stayed if the loving was good?
Not because of the loving being good.
No.
I have definitely stayed past my time in relationships where I felt as if the man would change.
Oh, we all do. Yeah.
That he would get better because, I felt like, oh, he really does love me. If I just give him an opportunity to change, whatever's going on in the situation, I have stayed because of those reasons. And those are not good reasons either.
And that goes hand in hand with the sex. Because we're hoping, we're staying in a situation where he is doing the most. He's not showing you that he values you, appreciates you, respects you, and he's doing everything that contradicts somebody that loves somebody. And a lot of times we're still giving them our bodies because we're hoping that they see some value in some area. We're meeting their need in our mind that nobody else will.
Okay.
And that might get him to stay. There's different reasons.
Okay.
But do I agree? No. I believe that, life is too short. Grown up chica.
Grown up chica. Yeah.
Grown up chica. Yeah. Nobody has time for that mess.
Okay.
Life is too short. I got enough to worry about, enough going on to sit here stressing about what you're doing and not doing.
Right. Right. So to that point, I'm also hearing, just to take a little moment, I'm hearing that some people are not seeing us. If you're seeing us, just drop us a comment. Let us know, because I've just gotten a few texts that they're not seeing the live. So if you're there, just let us know you're there. At least I know it's functioning correctly. Okay. So as far as Miss B staying in a relationship for good sex, that really just isn't enough for me. Because I feel like we are capable as human beings, male and female, we're capable of getting to a point in our relationship, if it's not good, we can get to a place where it's better. So if a relationship is serving me and the sex is great and all of that, that's great. But if he's doing the most and the sex is good, that's just not enough to hold me. Yeah. Because I have to feel comfortable. I have to feel safe. I have to feel loved. And if he's out here doing the most, lying, cheating, not giving me the time that I need and those sorts of things, then the sex, if that's the only thing that he's bringing to the table,
gotta do better than that.
He's got to do better.
Gotta do better. I agree.
Do better.
I agree.
So let me tell you what a couple of men said.
Oh, this will be good.
And if you could throw up picture number 1. What's very interesting is that from a male point of view, one young man that I spoke to said, I have never stayed in a relationship just for sex. I have stayed in a situation where all we had was great sex, and it was made clear that that was all it was. So we got people out here just kind of, just staying in stuff, letting people know that it's just all about sex, and we are actually going with this. Why? Why would anyone, particularly women, agree to being in a relationship with someone and they put it down good for them, and then they tell them, this is all this is?
Because we're stupid. Because we always will agree to it, like, okay, yeah, hoping that he'll see how amazing we are.
I'm glad you said that because we are amazing.
We are, but they're like, all right, yeah, that sounds good, and thinking enough time passes, it might lead, something might build. But
They'll
that
fall
that rare,
madly in
yeah,
love
I
with us.
know. It's like,
Well,
how could I only want to sleep with you?
right.
That never happens. That rarely ever happens. So,
And then another young man said, which I thought was interesting, for picture number 2 here. He says that it depends on the age and or place a man is in his life.
that is true.
Now, I was talking a lot about women because obviously I am a woman and I know a little bit about that part. But to hear a man say that, whether he stays with a woman that gives him good sex or not, and the relationship is otherwise uncomfortable, depends on the place and the age he is in life. Why do you think that is? Any men out there, feel free.
Yes, please.
Feel free to chime in here because we want to
What's the
know.
number?
We kind of want to know why.
I don't see the number.
The number's not flashing across because we will
No.
be taking calls. Also, we will take
Yeah.
calls. That number should be up now.
There we go.
If you want to call us, give us a call.
We would love to get a male perspective on this. Because I don't want to speak for men, but men grow when they grow, and when they're not ready, they are not ready. There's nothing you can say, no matter how many backflips you do in the sack.
Those backflips.
No matter how many times you give it to them, no matter how good you cook, no matter how amazing you are, when they are not ready, they are not ready, and there is nothing you could do.
Right.
There's nothing you could do. There's nothing you can say.
Now we talk about place and times in our lives where things are dependent upon that time of life. So when we're younger, we're trying to figure out what we like, right? We're trying to figure out what we will accept. We're trying to figure out, if I want a relationship that's full of love and laughter and care and joy and all those good things. Sounds like we might have a caller coming in.
Yes.
Let's see. Hey, caller, this is Chica and Miss B, Untamed Thoughts. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hello.
Hey, King, how are you? All
Hi.
right, King. What's going on?
We're doing great.
Yes. What do you have to say about this topic? Because we need to hear a man's point of view.
Yes.
Because of good sex, like amazing sex,
Mind blowing.
mind blowing, thumb sucking sex.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But what if everything else is not what it needs to be? So if the sex is right, he's working on anything, huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Make her feel a little better.
Okay.
I think Chica might agree with you because she's over here shaking her head
I ain't
yes.
mad
And
at it. I ain't mad at it.
okay.
I agree. It'll definitely make you feel better.
King, I don't agree. I sex it can't hold me. Good sex, just because it's good. And if everything else is bad, it's just not gonna hold me. Hmm. Okay.
But Yeah, but what if, the sex is great, the chemistry is there, but that one party is just not willing to do better or try,
That's a possibility.
Then what? You have great sex, but everything else is falling apart. Then what? Mhm.
Okay. So good sex is like therapy, is what you're trying to tell me, because that's what I'm hearing. Like we're using good sex as a therapeutic method to mending relationships.
Sounds like good therapy to me.
Yeah, yeah. I know you and King are on the same page. I mean, I don't know though.
Mhm.
I don't know because how? Hmm. Hmm. Oh my goodness. Oh my
So
goodness.
good sex is a pacifier, basically.
I don't know. It sounds like you have a lot of experience in this area. I mean, I'm like listening to you.
Literally.
You've got specifics. That is amazing. Uh,
Sounds like this man knows what he's talking about.
seems like he knows what he's talking about. But King, honestly, no, really, truly, you have a woman and she is just not meeting the standard for you as a man. The sex is the bomb, right? Every day you come home or go to wherever she is or she comes to wherever you are, and you're really not that happy to see her until she takes off her clothes. Is that really fulfilling enough to like stay and try, as you say? Mm, okay. I agree.
Mhm.
Life is
Oh, it was great.
good. Okay. Okay.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, so for women, a man that does the most is, cheating, lying, he's out with his friends, doesn't want to spend time with you, doesn't respect you, value those things. Now, on the flip side, for a man to have an issue with a woman, typically she is materialistic. She's not a good homemaker, doesn't have wife or mother potential. She's just trying to spend your money. She's trying to have a hot girl summer and be in the
Hot
streets,
girl summer. Mhm.
but the sex is good. Now, is that enough? Someone that is just not wife material? Okay, okay.
Okay. I mean,
You can't fake chemistry. That's
this is a
true. You
fact.
can't fake chemistry.
I agree with you on that.
Mhm.
I think more people share your view, King, than not. I think that's why we have a lot of relationships that are hanging on and hanging in the balance because um, the sex is good and it keeps them coming back. It keeps them hopeful, you know.
Mhm.
I think, yeah,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that people out there share that same sentiment. You know, I
agree.
think so. I mean, I'm definitely in the minority here because, um, you know, I didn't hear you. What'd you say? Okay, well, hmm Good sex is good life.
I
All
agree.
right, we're
Here,
gonna quote
here.
that, Mr. King.
Here.
Good sex is good life. You guys heard it here on Untamed Thoughts. Thank you so
Okay.
much for calling in,
Thank
King.
you for
We
your
appreciate
untamed
you.
thoughts. I feel
You too.
you
Thank you.
too.
Bye.
Thanks. I feel like everything you said is true. But at the stage in life that I am in, I think a little differently now. I think that great sex should be the icing on the cake.
Okay.
You
And
know?
I think I'm trying to change my mind here. I'm not changed
Girl.
yet, though. But because I just
No.
feel like we need more.
Well, that's what I'm
we just
saying.
need
Now I feel like
more.
it should be the icing on the cake.
Mhm.
I now as a grown behind woman, what gets me going is a man that is, a man of action, a man of his word. Those things that'll get all the other stuff where it needs to be. A man that's is the things that I need. And great sex on top of it. Oh, please. That's the icing on the cake for me. But, now where I am in life, I need the other things.
Okay.
The important things are what are important to me.
And ladies, y'all are real quiet out there.
I know.
I'm telling you, y'all weren't so quiet last week when I was talking to all of y'all, because the reality, I think what happens too is that we get so reluctant to talk about it, and I think that we don't talk about it. And part of the reason why, we can't share the view of our caller is because we don't really want to talk about it. We don't really want to admit that that's how we feel. I think there's some women out here that don't want to admit that, they're going to stay with a dude that's basically trashing them if the sex is good. I mean, who wants to really say that?
Nobody wants to say it, but that's the case, whether they admit it or not. It happens all the time.
And it does happen all
the time.
And that's why it's good to hear a man's point of view. I'm not sure how many men agree with King as far as you can work on everything else, because some men, unless they were lying to Miss B, and that's okay. But a lot of men feel like the woman should have a little more too.
Yes.
Because she could be at home waiting for you bucket naked every time you walk through the door. But if your belly's not full, if your house is not clean.
And one thing a man likes is his peace.
He likes peace.
And if you're not giving him his peace, and all you got to offer is, you just, like I said, doing some backflips in the bed.
Because you got to remember.
That gets old.
You got to remember the man says that as soon as they lay it down, the crazy comes out. And they don't like the crazy. You're disturbing my peace. Oh, it irks your soul.
It irks my whole soul, because that's BS. That's BS.
Now you sounded like you got some experience in this area.
Too. Because it's like, please.
So the crazy doesn't really come out, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not. Listen, anytime a man says, oh, I laid it down and the crazy came out, it has nothing to do with sex. Well, yes, it's part of it, because, you just gave your body to this man, and then he goes and does the most. And then because you react, you express how you feel, then all of a sudden she's crazy.
She's crazy all of a sudden. Yeah.
Get out of here.
We are accused of getting crazy.
It's not because you did it, you just did the most. It has nothing to do, I'm upset because you did X, Y, Z. Oh, it's because you laid it down.
So now, Chica, okay, so I really, because we know each other.
That we do.
We know each other a little bit, right?
A little bit.
And you said young Chica. has had occasion where she might have stayed a little longer than she should have.
You know young Chica too.
Yeah, I do.
Oh boy, do you know young Chica?
I'm trying to be politically correct here. Thank you. But honestly, do you think that there could possibly be an occasion for our older version of ourselves to fall back into this? Because when you live a little and you know what things make you happy, and you know how you like your body to feel, you know the type of man that you need to satisfy you. And what happens if you don't get a good man that does those things?
I mean, I can only speak for me, but I feel like the sex gets 1,000 times better when there's an emotional connection.
I agree.
I mean, because sex can be great. You could meet somebody and it's instant spark. You guys are just, it is everything. Automatically, it's like they know your body, but it gets magnified when there's an emotional attachment, an actual respect and feelings and love. And that comes with, I think, age. Because when you're younger, you don't give a crap about that.
Now, let me ask you, we heard King, our caller, call in, and he spoke all this wonderful words about how sex can be the therapy that's needed for any broken relationship. But do you think that men play that role?
I think
they
men
play with us. They play in our face, as we say.
No, men always play in our face, but
yeah, I mean, but
I do believe that a lot of men think that way because men are more animalistic. We're more emotional. We're emotional based. They are, they're more animalistic, and if it doesn't. There are a lot of men that do believe, if they're in a different stage in life, that's not enough. That they need more.
But you think the majority of men kind of feel like sex fixes everything?
I wouldn't say them. Probably.
Because I can remember a time, young Sandra, where if I was hurt over something, the first thing the man goes to do is now he's wrong, and he did it, but the first thing he goes to do is to pull me close and to try to fix it. How does the person who broke you fix you, though?
They don't.
And they don't, right? So it becomes a situation where it's harder to stay for me just because that part, when their arms wrap around me and other things happen, after that is over, it still hurts.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's not enough.
And then I feel like at the moment you're fine. When you're in it, they pull you close to them and you're having sex. But afterwards, that hurt comes right back. And now on top of the hurt, you feel like a whole dummy because they did that, and then you just slept with them, and it's like, so it's just bad.
Because how many times, and I don't mean to be so harsh with it, but how many times has he come home from being with the next chick, and you knew he was with the next chick, and you have what they call receipts, that he was with the next chick, and he embraces you and takes you to the bedroom, and you just down for the stroke and soak at that point.
Meanwhile, he just stroked it and soaked it in someone else.
And then now you are faced with, again, you've accepted this, and you're going to stay a little bit longer, and then the next time it happens, the cycle repeats. How do we break that cycle, though? There has to be a way for us as women, and some men, because some men, this is happening to them too, poor things. But some men, this is happening to them too, right? But how do we break that cycle? I think it's important that we try to figure out how to break that cycle, because we want the entire relationship.
Chastity belt.
Chastity belt. Oh, we're putting chastity belts on, huh?
Lock it down.
Oh boy. But honestly, how do we get ourselves to a place where we just don't accept that? Because it's an acceptance thing. It is a choice.
A choice. You have to choose to not accept it. And it happens enough times, you do get at a point where you're like, enough is enough. At some point,
But ladies, I do want us to attempt to normalize, okay, the ability to walk away, even if the sex is wonderful, mind-blowing. You're scared you're not going to get it like that again. Listen, I get it. I get it. I do get it.
Do you though?
Yeah, I do get it. I mean, Chica, she's willing to stay a little longer. Miss B is
younger
not.
Chica, okay?
Yeah.
Today's Chica, 2025 Chica. That's not the case. Thank you very much.
We don't know what's going to happen in 2026. But honestly speaking, we have to help in some way ourselves. And we have to normalize being okay to walk away from even that. Because I think we owe it to ourselves as beautiful women and as wonderful men that are in that situation to serve yourself better. Let's think of ourselves as being more than just our bodies. And I do understand what King was saying, because in a lot of instances, we substitute the pain with the sex.
Yes.
And we feel better when we get up, and then we think about it as they walk back out the door to go back and do what it is that they were doing. And then we have a bout
of self-loathing.
And then we sit and we hurt again. How many times does this have to happen in order for us to say enough? That don't have to happen to me. I've gotten hurt in more ways than just someone cheating on me. You understand?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it's not enough to pacify me with good sex. I mean, as good as partners have been for me, it still wasn't enough for me to try to stick around, try to hang on, even go back to. Because there's a lot of women that, okay, they might get up enough nerve to leave, but a couple of days later, the phone rings. What you doing? What's
waiting
up,
on you?
And then the next thing you know, here they are back in the cycle again.
What you mean what I'm doing? Come over.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Chico. What do you mean what I'm doing? Waiting on you.
Exactly.
I mean, and this is what happens. And there's no shame in that, ladies. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that. But we do have to get to a place where we feel a little bit better about ourselves, that we don't have to accept their behavior. If the sex is good, hey, dude, why don't everything be good? Why can't we just have a total package? Why we can't have a total package?
I'm with it. I mean, why can't we?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes, putting up with less than we deserve and just staying for the sex, we could take this so deep.
Yes, we could.
We can go to the bottom of the ocean with this conversation.
And shout out to my Uber driver, Kelvin. We had a very interesting conversation on the way here, and we were talking about this topic, and he was saying, that sometimes you gotta kiss a lot of frogs. And I told him I'm not into kissing all these frogs either.
Yeah.
I'm really not into, trying this one, trying that one. My sister actually said, listen, y'all got this question out there. Let me have about a week and I'll get back to y'all. And that's funny and it's fun. And there was probably a time in her life where she probably would have got back to me in a week. But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of times we just have to get to that point in life where that's just not enough. And I don't know at what point in life we get there. I don't know at what point. Everyone grows differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Everyone grows differently.
I would like to think, it's with time, experience, and kind of some self-reflecting. At a certain point, especially with women, our clocks start ticking, time passes. Yeah, that clock will do it.
That clock
will do it.
Well, I mean, I have definitely enjoyed this conversation. I just want to make sure that everyone that is tuning in on tonight understands that, yes, good sex is important to any relationship that you're in, because these days, that's what we do. That's what they're out there doing. They are having sex, good sex, bad sex, partial sex. I don't know, all kinds of sex, right?
I wish good sex for everybody.
Yeah. Chica wishes good sex for everybody. Okay. All right. You and King.
Yes.
Okay. Which, hey, listen.
Short. Life's too short for that sex.
Life is too short. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. No judgment here, But I really hope that everyone begins to engage in healthy relationships,
Yes.
fulfilling relationships. It has to be more. And I will stand by this. What do they say? 10 toes down. I'm going to stand on.
And I think that'll make the sex better.
I think,
I
thank
think
you.
it makes the sex 100 times
Thank
better
you.
when you feel fulfilled by your partner, loved, respected, valued, you share common interests, that really takes it up 10 notches.
Yeah, it's uninhibited.
Yes.
She's not thinking about where you just came from.
Or what you about to do.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Just enjoying each other.
Yeah, that thought of what you're about to do, that'll ruin a good sex. That will ruin
Yes.
good sex. But don't settle for less. I think that's what I want to say. Me personally, I want to say don't settle for less than love and understanding and trust and happiness.
Yes.
For good sex. I mean, because trust me, if he don't know how to please you, and if she doesn't know how to please you, you can always show them.
And not for nothing, if you're staying in something just for good sex and you're kind of pushing aside your values or what you really need, they up and leave. Then what? Then what?
Then what?
Then
what? You're left.
If all you have, holding you guys together is sex.
Then that does get old.
It gets old.
That does get old, because then what happens if they can no longer perform and can no longer give you that good sex? What's left?
Or what if that person that's providing the good sex decides that they need something different or more? They decide they want to grow and they need more than just sex. You're left with.
You're left.
You're left, exactly.
You're left. I mean, that's it. You're left. You're left.
You're left.
Listen, we have enjoyed this time.
Yes.
We didn't even take a break, Chica.
I know, because this was a good topic.
This was a very good topic.
Shout out to King, too.
Yeah, shout out to King. Thanks for calling in. Listen, you guys, our information is across the screen. We'd like for you to subscribe, follow, like, share, comment. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you thought about the show on today. We want to hear about your thoughts. We really do.
Yeah.
We really do. Periodically, we go online on our Instagram and we ask questions. We put up different quotes, and we want to hear from you and tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about on the next show.
If there's a topic that you want us to talk about, let us know.
Because
we'll incorporate it, absolutely.
Because I got some good ones coming up. We got some really good ones.
She likes to push my boundaries, so
that's what I do. I push boundaries because I think that we all have to kind of look past what our comfort zones are and really just talk about what's real.
Absolutely.
Because we're not living in a fake fantasy world. This is real life.
Yeah, we got to have those uncomfortable conversations because it's life and it's adult life.
Absolutely.
It's reality.
Absolutely. So Chica has already wished you guys good sex.
Yes.
And I want to wish you all a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
See you soon.
This is Chica and I'm Miss B. And we're Untamed Thoughts. Bye.
Bye.